Guess we'll go ahead and get started. Ann Calder, the Vice President of Development. First, I'll introduce myself. I'm Bill Laurel. I'm the Program Committee Chair. Is that what it's called?
I think so, yes.
For our Association of Fundraising Professionals. We're gonna, if you have any input, I'm gonna say this before, if you have any input on topics, we have basically the first 6 months booked. But if you have input on topics you'd like to see July through November, feel free to contact me or Brooke Hendricks. We want to be able to give you what you're looking for in these lunch department. Ann is the Vice President of Development of Quad City Community Foundation. She oversees the gift planning and philanthropic services, plan giving, stewardship, and donor engagement, nonprofit endowment building initiatives, and disaster fundraising. She is a chartered advisor in philanthropy. I know I screw that out. A designation which provides expertise to guide charitable individuals and organizations in strategic philanthropic planning. Her career in philanthropy includes work with the Lutheran School of Theology in Chicago, the Evangelical Lutheran Church in America, and nearly 10 years at Augustana, and serves on the board of the Alliance of Illinois Community Foundations and as the president of the Quad City Plan Giving Council. She's going to lead our discussion today on making the plan giving hands.
Hello. How many of you ever asked for a plan gift? We have a few. For the rest of you, by the end of today, you will have done it. So by the end of the hour, you will have done it. So then now you can say you've done it. So there we go. And I'm gonna, right at the top of the hour, give thanks to my friend Julianne Book. She is the head of the Community Foundation in Grundy County. I'm filling in for somebody else who originally was going to do this, and so Julie was very kind enough to give me her slides from the presentation she did. So you'll get her information at the end. She's also a great fundraising consultant. But I do want to always give credit where credit is due. So I started with hers and added from there. So you might ask, what is planned giving? Because it's not only giving at death. It really just means a gift that needs some help, right? Either some help from you, your organization, some help from the donor, some help from the donor's advisors, maybe their attorney or their wealth advisor. So it's things that need more help than just writing a check. And it's also where the most of the money is. So if you think about where people's assets are, if I come to you today and say, would you make a gift to my cause, you're going to think, okay, how much is in that checking account? How much could I let go of? It's not going to hurt me this month. But if I come to you and say, have you considered, or would you consider including our organization in your estate plan? That's a whole another part of your assets. That's like 95% of your assets, not in your checking account, probably more, not in your checking account at any given time. So learning to get comfortable asking for those more complicated gifts, for the gifts that need a little bit of help, will get your organization far more than just asking for those annual gifts, only asking for annual gifts. As I said, it doesn't have to only be through death. A lot of them come through death, but some of them don't. Some of them come during lifetime too. So, and also as I'm going along, questions, just shout them out as we're going, okay? So this, I just wanted to throw in, because it's hard for us as fundraisers to sometimes get our CEOs and our boards on board with giving us room and space and support to do this work. And really, that's the hardest thing. Once you get over the hump, the nervousness of asking somebody, talking about death with somebody and asking for some of their money after they're dead, then the next hump is getting your organization to stop having you do the top line and to, yes, do so events. This is the return on investment. For every $1, you get $4.43 out of an event. For annual giving, for every $1 you spend on an annual gift, you'll get $19.11. This was from 2017. So for major gifts, asking for a major gift, you'll get $33 out of every $1 you spend making that ask. But plan giving, $56.93. These take longer. I think they're actually easier. Because all the rest of these things, especially the top two of the events in the annual giving, is a lot of busy work. If you sit down and ask somebody for a major gift, if you sit down and ask for an estate gift, you might have to wait a little bit to get it, but you're gonna get so much more for your organization. So this is also why it's really important in your development metrics that you're not just reporting to your board every year what annual gifts you got, but you're also reporting, these are the estate gifts that we've booked, the estate gifts that we've recorded. I do that every year. So in any given year, I might report to the board, I have, this year there was $8 point something million in new estate gifts that are lined up. Last year it was 21. $7 million. Now, I don't have that money yet, and I'm very patient, and I don't want it right now, because that, in that case, if somebody's gonna die. However, that person wants to give that gift that job, you have to report that to your board. And then year over year, you need to report to your board, these are the gifts that we've lined up in past years. This is the number of estates, or the number of planned gifts, and this is an estimated value, because you know those numbers could change. Really important that you get credit for this work. So I want to make sure that when you start doing this, or if you are doing it, that you are getting it reported to your CEO and to your board, so that they see, because when they see those numbers, they're going to start to value you doing this work, and then they'll give you more time to do this work. Does that make sense? Any questions? So, a lot of people think, oh, if I stop doing those events, if I scale back some of the annual giving efforts so I can make room for this, because you have a finite number of hours in the week, and so you have to be able to fit this in, is this gonna hurt the annual fund? It doesn't. So 60% of your plan giving donors are already annual donors. 40% have already been donating for more than 10 years. 20% have been donating for less than 5 years. So it doesn't have to be a long time donor. But the average gift, the two bottom ones, the average gifts of an annual gift donor increased by 75% in the years after making a plan gift. So some people at your organization might say, well, if they say they're gonna put us in their estate plan for $50,000, then they're gonna stop giving out. That doesn't happen, they start giving more. So their annual gifts increase. And annual gifts of plan gift donors are 2 times the size of non-plan gift donors. So you'll get these slides, I think. If you ever need like justification for your CEO and your board, why this is where you want to put the bulk of your, or a good part of your efforts, these statistics will help support that. It's something you have to keep telling them though, you can't just tell them once. So, this is from the Giving USA study. In 2022, American gave $499.33 billion to charity. It's a decline. When you adjust for inflation, it declined 10.5%. Some of this is the state of the economy through the pandemic. A lot of this is that loss of the universal charitable deduction that we're all suffering from. So giving is actually going down. We know this. Giving by individuals declined 6.4%. But look at this, giving by bequest increased 2.3%. So people who are maybe thinking more closely about what's in their checkbook right now, because maybe it's less certain, or maybe their costs have gone up. I mean, you all have gone to the grocery store this year, but I did, and definitely went up. But people are doing more planned gifts. If you don't ask for it now, you're not going to get in the plan. If you're not in the plan, then nothing's going to happen for you when they pass. So consider this is one of the areas that was going up, as opposed to those annual gifts given by individuals that was going down. Now, also, we've talked, you've probably heard about this massive transfer of wealth that's happening. This is kind of a look at what's gonna happen between 2007 and 2061. How much is gonna pass to heirs, bequests to heirs, to people. 27 trillion to charity, 5.6 trillion to federal estate taxes. Okay, it's like ridiculous. None of that 5.6 needs to go to federal taxes. If people set up a charitable plan gift, none of that's gonna go. Now, I'm a believer in paying my taxes because I want to well-run government, so I'm just gonna say that. However, maybe we can do that during our lifetimes, but that 5.6 is up for grabs. That 36 trillion request to heirs doesn't have to be that big. We don't all have to leave everything to our kids. I'm not leaving everything to my kids. My kids are fine. I have 5. 2 are still in college. They're gonna be okay. I've given them a good start in life. Now it's on them. They'll get something, but they're not gonna get it all. Not everybody has to do it. That's not like and I would just say, the majority of estate planning attorneys assume everything is gonna go to the children, and they hardly ever bring up charity. They wait. Studies show that estate planning attorneys wait for the client to say, oh, wait, I'd like to leave something to this charity I love. They don't do it. They're going under the assumption that everything has to go to the kids. So the donors have to be prompted to say to their estate planning attorney, I would like to leave something for the charity. And this is where you come in, helping create that prompt. Any questions on that? So why do you need to work on that? There is, from the dollar amounts, there's plenty of wealth out there. And I know that we've heard there's a crisis. I don't actually think there's a crisis. There's more money out there than any of us are getting at. They're just not being asked. And they're not being cultivated and not being brought along. There's plenty of money out there. Also, the wealth that is grown in this community leads. So generally what happens, your kids grow up, some of them will stay. I have one that's here, that's an adult who stayed here, but I have 4 that are gonna live elsewhere. One lives in Switzerland, one lives in Oklahoma, another one's gonna live on the West Coast. I don't know where the last one's gonna live, but anything I leave them through my estate, the 4 that aren't gonna live around here is gonna leave our Quad Cities community. If we, as the charitable sector, can garner 1, 2, 5%, 10% of that wealth in that wealth transfer, instead of going to heirs, going to the community, going to your cause here at home, then we're gonna be able to keep some of those dollars here in the Quad Cities. So, this is a nervous part. Do you need to know all of the details? Do you need to know how to set up a charitable living trust? You know what a charitable living trust is. You need to know how to set it up. No, you don't. That's the beauty of it. You don't. You need to know what it is, but you aren't actually ever going to be the one that sets up the thing, usually. For the bottom reason on this, you're mostly not licensed to do it. Even I'm not an attorney and I'm not an accountant. So when I meet with donors, one of the first things I always say is, remember, I'm not an attorney and I'm not an accountant, so you need to rely on your own advisors for your own legal and financial advice. Here are some ideas that I'd like to explore with you, and I would love to explore with your advisors as well. They will pick up the ball and run with it. If you get the donor signed up for this, if you get the donor saying, I want to do something, then you can provide ideas because you know about the vehicles. You don't have to do the vehicle yourself. Some of them you can, and they're very easy. But other the more complicated ones, you don't have to do yourself. Plus, you don't want to be in competition with their advisors. You always want to work with the donor's advisor. So if they have an attorney, you say, would it be possible for us to meet with your attorney, or for me to reach out to your attorney and say, hey, I've been meeting with Britt and she's interested in doing this. Could we collaborate on this? Yeah, the advisors actually love that because it brings them business, right? Especially the ones that are doing billable hours. Yay, that's an hour. So they like this. When you come with ideas, it's a document they can execute. They love it. So. I just wanted to put this on a slide, easiest to most complicated. And what I've done today is I gave you a handout. I'm also gonna kind of copy the little weird. Yeah, it's totally not what I was gonna. This came from a colleague at another community foundation. She put together her own little cheat sheet, and I was like, wow, that's so cool. Can I have it? And she said, yeah. So, copy and steal everything, and it was the way to go. This is a cheat sheet that I thought maybe you would like. Again, you don't have to know how to set all of these up, but you have to know how they work. You don't have to know the tax implications, because there are people in this community who will help you with that. But you just have to have enough working knowledge to be able to say, here are some ideas. Let's explore this with your advisor, with your financial advisor, and see if any of these they would recommend. Easiest one, those IRA qualified charitable distributions. We're all hopefully asking for those. Ask for them early in the year. A lot of times people get this rush of solicitations at the end of the year. Now is the perfect time to ask for that IRA qualified charitable distribution or the charitable rollover. So this is, if the donor is 70.5 or older, they can make a distribution from their IRA of up to $100,000 a year per person. So if there's a couple, we could each do $100,000. If they're over 72, they're taking their required minimum distribution. This can take the place of their required minimum distribution. The beauty of this gift is it doesn't add to their taxable income. So it comes straight to you. They don't pay tax on it. They don't get a charitable reduction for it. But they are able to make a gift that doesn't cost them anything. That you can do. The reason you want to ask for it early in the year is the first money out qualifies for that required minimum distribution. Their RMD, there's a first money out rule. So if they're going to make a QCD, you want them to do it first before they take any dollars for themselves. Because the dollars they take for themselves, they pay income tax on. But if they're going to give it to charity, have them do that first. So now is a great time of year to get in front of seniors and say, hey, if you got an RMD this year, you would like to turn it into a charitable gift, do that right away. That you do, and you don't have to fill out any paperwork. They'll take care of it. It comes to you. Don't tax receipt it. Don't give them a receipt, but don't give them any tax information. It's not a deductible gift, but that'll come to you. The next one, beneficiary designation on an asset. That's my next favorite one, because all they need to do is go to their servicer and change that beneficiary designation. I always say in February, do show yourself some love, check on your beneficiary designations, because a lot of us filled out those forms 15 years ago, right? Or 20 years ago when we set that up, and who knows who's on there. My ex-husband could be on one of those. I don't want to get that money. So please check those. But that's a perfect time. Yeah, and they have this one. They actually have this one. That's a perfect time for somebody to say, oh, I want to give 5% of this to alternatives. They don't have to go to the lawyer. It passes outside of probate, so it doesn't have to wait for the estate to settle. It just comes to you. Now, here's the caveat, and this is why it has an answer. It's going to tell you the horror story of this letter. Ask your donor, if they're going to do this, ask them to give you a copy of it. Ask them to give you the account number and the name of the servicer. So if it's an account with, I have a TIA prep from my time at Augie. If I put down a charity on that one, I really want the charity to ask me for a copy of the designation form and the account number. Here's why. A lot of these accounts are held by organizations like Fidelity. I'm going to use Fidelity just as a, I don't know, maybe they're really bad partners in this example that I just have lived last month horror story with.
Maybe.
Yes, maybe.
Allegedly.
I don't know. Allegedly.
Hypothetically.
Hypothetically. they don't like to give money out. So even if you put down, I want alternatives to get 5% of my account on top of payable on death. Unless alternatives comes to Fidelity and says, so-and-so Pat, we're in their plan, here's the copy, here's the account. They don't always do it. They will just hang on to the money and either never tell you. Or if you come to them and say, hey, I think Ann put us in her part of 5% of the Fidelity, that's what they told me, they'll say, what's the account number? And he's not gonna know because I didn't give it to him. If he doesn't have evidence of it, they won't talk to you. So it's really, really important that you as the charity, when you're asking for these, ask for a copy, ask for those account numbers. I drove up this fall to Clinton and sat down with the lady. She had 8 different ones, and she wrote down all the numbers and all the names of the insurance policies and the this and the that from all of these different accounts, so that we have something we can now go and say, here's the account number, and this is what has been gifted to us. We had a gentleman do this with us through, I don't know, it could be something like Fidelity. And number one, they wouldn't give us any information. Go ahead.
Should you get that as a more of a legal document that's notarized, or is
No,
it
no,
just
I just
something
asked
that
for
you need
a
for a file?
It's for copy or an account number.
Okay.
Mhm. Knowing that people can change their plans, but when I tell them, listen, it's very, very hard for charities to collect this money that's supposed to be so easy for us to get because the person has instructed them to do this. They won't do it unless you go out and get it. So we spent a month and a half with Fidelity, had to go get a medallion guarantee signature at Flexible Banking Trust. Then they kept asking me, telling me they needed my personal social security card. And my home address, and I previously for other accounts have been asked for my marriage license. Because they're gonna want your organization to set up an IRA. They're gonna tell you, you have to now set up an inherited IRA, maybe a place called Fidelity. And they're gonna transfer you to that, and then they're gonna make it difficult for you to cash that out. There is a project, and on the last slide, I have information on this called the RIFT project. I'll give you the link for it, that walks you through how to collect these dollars and has sample letters and information for each one of these financial services companies. But the best thing you can do to help yourself down the road is ask for a copy.
What if there might be people who have it set up and you don't know? I mean, there's no way, I mean, it truly is, they just will have to.
Yeah, we have,
no idea what that's.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
no.
there's no way for you to really naturally,
won't
be
know.
like, hello, anybody got anything?
you are,
Yeah,
What Fidelity.
that's what they're looking for, because
Yeah.
it moves out of them, it's now, assets are moving out of them. And this is why Fidelity Charitable is the largest charity in the United States. Because all they do is one of them. That's not all they do, they grant money, but, they took it out on December 28th, the lady from, I don't know, if this Fidelity, maybe allegedly, was still asking me for a photocopy of my personal social security card. And I was refusing to give it. Magically,
thankfully, you know what you're doing.
yeah, right,
I mean,
right. And magically, the check showed up on January 5th. So she didn't know what was happening over there, but she was still thinking her guns. So do if you can, ask for copies. I'm not gonna do a lot on all of these, because it's why I gave you a cheat sheet. But paid on death, transfer on death also has that asterisk. That just means like, I have an investment account somewhere and it's payable on death, meaning, it doesn't go through the estate. It's supposed to come straight to me or my bank account. Maybe I put a payable on death or transfer on death. It depends on the asset, which way that goes. I want whatever's left in that checking account of mine that has 4% of my money or whatever, and wanted to go to alternatives. Well, ask for that as well. Ask for the information sheet, and you can tell your donors, we're going to keep this in a safe, locked place. It's entirely confidential. You can change your plans. It's just that we know from experience that unless we know what to go ask for, it doesn't automatically come to us, and we want your plans to be fulfilled. people usually are like, oh, well, I totally want you to have that, so here, have a copy of it. Same thing on a will or trust request, ask for that copy of the will or trust, or even just the page. Because we have people die who are like, okay, well, she said we were in a will, but then the family's like, show us. Well, and I don't have the attorney name, so I don't know what law firm they're working with, or maybe I don't even have the name of the, what the next of kin are, that happens, and then we're calling the funeral home and trying to figure out who should we follow up with. Well, maybe they've changed their plan, but maybe they just don't know who we are, and so they're supposed to, the executor is supposed to follow what's in the will or trust. They're supposed to.
I just learned this from a friend, but one time you could will your body to Iowa and they would give you an amount of money for it. He did that and then promptly changed his name and moved down to the area so that he got this money from Iowa. So I don't know, I mean, it wasn't necessarily a will or trust, but it was one of those, kind of like another wrinkle to throw in on this too.
That's interesting, yeah, see, and then that's the thing, that was why I was asking for their marriage license, because they got remarried, and I was like, we have to do that. There's only one person that needs that. And I see him every night. Charitable gift annuities, easy. You do not have to set those up yourself. In fact, the Quad Cities Community Foundation is no longer setting these up ourselves. We've been doing it ourselves for a long time. We now run ours through the National Gift Annuity Foundation. If you want to contact over there, I'll be happy to give it to you. It doesn't cost you anything. You don't need to have a contract with them. They set them up with you to benefit your charity. They take care of all of the annual financial work, all of the quarterly payments that go out to people, the tax documentation and all of that. And at the end of the person's life, the dollars come to you. You, on your development side, can count it as a planned gift. And those numbers that you report to your board, you can say, there's a number that is estimated you'll get at the end. That's what you report to your board reader. So you get credit for this, even though your finance department doesn't have to do the hard work. I'm just gonna say, like, universities, they have a finance department that can run these. But even in an organization our size, we're like, it's too much outside of our normal range of business. It's not worth it for us to do it anymore. So we're using them. National Gift Community Foundation. I have a great contact over here, if you like it. And they don't take, they work with you. So you don't have to be worried that they're gonna steal your donor. You're still the relationship manager on setting those up, but they walk you through everything. You don't have to do anything. It's really fabulous. Life insurance, you want a copy of those. I'm meeting with somebody tomorrow on a life insurance gift, and I'm gonna get a copy of that policy, so I know where to go to ask for it. We had a donor who had us in a life insurance policy. We had the information, her executor had the information. When we went to collect after she died, the life insurance company said, oh no, when she was 85, she was supposed to have signed this paper or done this little thing that she needed to do, and she didn't do it, so now you're not getting it. Really important that you stay in touch with those life insurance donors. Treat them like an annual donor, stay in touch with them. Check in, make sure that there are no changes, that things are still in place, just stay on top of it.
Can I give a word of warning?
Yeah.
We have a very hard time with life insurance policies.
Yeah.
Donors outlive the usefulness of them
Yes.
and they may cost getting the,
Yeah.
or not if they benefit.
Yeah.
And we have people that set them up 30 plus years ago, which is great,
Mhm.
but.
And I will tell you,
Be careful with those.
Yeah.
having a father who died last summer from at 88 years old, that the life insurance companies are a lot like Fidelity, unless you're born.
Yeah.
They want to hold on to that money.
How can you buy a death certificate?
Yeah.
To do that.
Mhm. Oh, we even needed that for Fidelity. I mean, it was crazy.
Do you need help encouraging them to shut off the normal coil earlier?
Yeah, life insurance is tricky. It's on the sheet. There are different ways you can do life insurance. The best possible scenario is a paid up whole life insurance policy that's already paid up. And then the policy gets gifted to you, and then no further things need to be done. We can also do it where existing policy can be gifted to you, and now you're the owner, and the donor makes the payments to you.
That's what I was just.
Yeah, so that then they get a charitable deduction for their life insurance payment because it comes to you, and then you're just forwarding it on to the life insurance company. The problem comes into play when they decide, I don't want to pay that anymore. And now either you have to pay it, or you have to erode the policy, and that's how they can lose value. It can be a really great gift, but you're gonna want some help. And learning about it is great, because you get to learn terms like interpolated terminal reserve, which is one of the favorite things to say. That's how you value a life insurance policy, based on the lesser of, the fair market value of the interpolated terminal reserve. So, very exciting. The rest of these are all ones that are gonna need help from, especially from advisors. You're gonna wanna bring in their attorney, you're gonna wanna bring in a law advisor, you're probably gonna wanna bring in your attorney for your organization. If you need to know attorneys who know how to do these things, we work with a lot of them here in the Quad Cities, and we can always refer you, we can give you a list that says, okay, and even if you have a donor who's like, yeah, I'd like to do this, but I don't have a will or estate plan. Oh, I know all of the attorneys who are doing really great estate planning work. I'll give you their names, and they will love to meet you because they're good business. But they know all about these things and can help set them up. And then you want your corporate attorney, your company's attorney to look at it as well. They're not that hard though. They're really not as hard as people think they are. You don't have to do all the calculations. You have partners, at your community foundations, and your plan giving council, your estate planning council, all these people will help you with these, so don't feel like I'm in over my skis and now I don't know what to do. Just call on the partners and I'll give you a list of those too. There. So you don't need to know the ins and outs, although I give you a cheat sheet to help you feel a little bit more comfortable with some of the terminology. What do you need to know? You need to know the advisors who can help. So who are the people in this community who already know how to do these things? Those are good people to have in your back pocket. The types of gifts and the promises, and this is actually really pretty complete. I don't know for those of you who've done this, but I thought it was like, wow, that's a pretty good, 2 sides of the paper, wow. Your nonprofit's ability and capacity to accept major gifts. You have to have a gift acceptance policy. If you don't have one, we can give you some samples, but your gift acceptance policy is really kind of the first thing you do before you start accepting gifts. Because you need to be able to know what can you say yes to, and what can you say no to. There are gifts we say no to. We're not gonna accept a cemetery, don't ever do that, understand do that, they still do normal and every day. We're not gonna accept a gas station. Any property goes through an environmental study, because we don't wanna accept something that's like an EPA super fund. We don't accept things with a lot of toilets break. If we get something like that, we turn it around and resell it. But you also need to know, do you accept cryptocurrency? Some organizations do. We have it available.
Does anyone do it? Any donors?
I've had one donor do it. We set it up, we worked really hard to research and set up the platform we wanted to use, and then that was right before the whole crypto thing. So we were like, but it has come back, and there are people who have it, and usually when they have it, it's very highly appreciated. So once they think about cashing it out, they're like, that's gonna cost me a lot of taxes, and it can make a really good gift. Now, some organizations are gonna say, I don't want anything to do with that for moral ethical reasons. So you need to have that in your gift acceptance policy. You accept gifts of cryptocurrency. If somebody came to you and said, I want to give you a gift of cryptocurrency, how can I do it? You at least need to know, yes, will we accept it, or no, we won't. And then have an idea of who you can ask for help. Because you don't want to go open a Bitcoin account and start up that. I mean, even I don't want to do that. But you do need to know, are we gonna do it or not? And who could we utilize? So. I thought that I was gonna use Brian Klotz's organization, the Deckermar Foundation out of Florida. Yeah, but when our donor came and wanted $50,000 of crypto, he was like, oh, it's just. We only do like $1 million. And I was like, oh, because I have a donor sitting here right now who wants to do it, and I thought you were my, he's not your guy, it's $50,000. So we had to come up with a workaround. So a little bit of research, or just say, no, we're not gonna accept that. You can do that. You can say, we're not gonna accept gifts of property. You can say, we're not gonna accept cars. You know, it's perfectly legit, WBIB will take the car. But you, gifts of physical, yeah, gifts of, like, you know, somebody's Lalique collection. If you say you accept any gift, and now somebody gave you 400 pieces of Lalique, yeah, what is this? Remember it's like a China figurines, dust collectors. And now you have to get rid of 400 pieces of Lalique. So, having a gift acceptance policy, what you'll accept, what you won't, who's reviewing those in advance, so before you say, yeah, we keep that. 1 million postcards. Augustana accepted a postcard collection. It was 200,000 postcards. Antique postcards. Yeah, it was a lot of work. It was worth it, but it was a lot of work. What your plans are for the future, you have to know what your donors really care about. So, what does she love about our organization and our mission? When you're going out and asking for these gifts, you need to know what she really cares about. And you also have to really have down pat why somebody should invest a lot of money. Not just the $200, but I'm gonna ask for $100,000. And I need to have my script. There, so these are the players, your donors, your organization, and the professional advisors who are the gatekeepers for donors. Who are your best plan giving prospects? I have for you. Your board members, your former board members, every board member should have you in their estate plan, and that survey should start every year, making sure that every board member has been asked. Because if you're gonna ask other people, if your board is not bought in, nobody else is gonna buy in, so they should be asked, and they should be being told, this is part of being on the board, is an annual gift to this organization, and we'd like you to include this in your estate plan. Longtime donors, great prospects. Even if they've only been given $20 a year, but for 20 years, great prospects for a planned gift. It doesn't really matter the amount of the gift, it just matters the duration is the tell there. Any other previous major donors, great prospects. Beneficiaries, just because you're a service provider does not mean your beneficiaries do not have money. A lot of those people have benefited from your services, and they have something to leave. Everybody has something to leave. So even a beneficiary is a possible person. Your volunteers, great people. They're spending their time with you. They're donating that. It's like the most precious thing they have. You'd be a great prospect. Your staff members, people who work at your organization, you know, we're giving more than just their time. They're a good prospect. So anybody who appreciates your mission. Okay, it does mean talking about that, which really kind of wakes people up. Not all of them kind of do, but a lot of them do. So one thing to get you more comfortable in talking about that is review your own estate plan. If you don't have one, make one. If you need an estate attorney, this. But get comfortable talking about it in your own house. Get comfortable talking about it with your CDO and your board. They'll understand that you're practicing, but they want you to go out and do this. So they'll play along and they'll do it with you. The one thing to remember is, even if I'm sitting down and doing anything, you know, can you tell me about your statement? Have you included your business plan? I'm doing him a favor. Because I already know he's a generous person. He's already engaged with us. I mean, it's like I know he's been given to us for 15 years. And I know he cares about us. And I've heard his story. And I know, you know, how much this means to him. Giving him an opportunity to make a legacy gift is doing him a favor. So try to flip maybe the conversation in your head, it makes it less scary when you realize I'm helping him. And frankly, people who have estate assets, especially larger estate assets, they're used to talking about their estate. They do it a lot. They think they have to do it a lot. So it's okay, because they usually are either just finished updating their plan or they're about to. So this is scary. So you get like a little, see when you think about asking somebody about their estates. So people like, what do I say? Here are some things you can throw into those conversations when you're sitting down with somebody. What kind of impact do you want to have on our organization long term? How do you want to be remembered? How would you like to be remembered in alternatives? You've given so much of your life to it and you have invested in growing these assets. Let's talk about what you can do. Would that be weird to you? If you come at it and aren't, oh, this is scary, they won't be either. Would you consider a gift chest when you know you'll no longer need the money yourself? That's a good one, because when I die, I don't need that money. It doesn't cost me anything at that point, right? I can give a lot bigger gift at death. Would you consider adding our organization as one of your heirs? I think that's a particularly powerful ask. Because again, everything has to go to children. I have 5 kids. An organization comes to me and says, would you consider adding us to the 6th child? We do it, and we say, would you consider adding your community as a 6th child? Are my 5 kids gonna miss 1/6 of my estate? They each get 1/5 of, 1/5 or 1/6 of my estate. You're not gonna notice it, but we will notice. So that's a really great way to make it personal and make it about family. You're now part of the family. You could just say, do you have a will? Have you included charity as a beneficiary? Would you consider putting us in? Would you consider including alternatives for 1% of your estate? 1% is not a lot. You don't know what 1% is. Because I don't know. I might have an idea, but I don't even know. Unwanted property can make a really great gift. Is there any property, especially if you hear somebody about a business owner, maybe who's going to sell their business or maybe retiring, and if they have a summer home up north, and the kids aren't going up there anymore, and they're so tired of going over and putting that dock in and picking it out all by myself, they go, give it up, kids, don't come down with it. The application home for each other is an awesome gift for your organization, and you would be doing them a favor, because they don't want to sell it, and it's probably highly appreciated. And if they sell it, they're going to pay a lot of capital gains on it. If they give all of it or a portion of it to you and most of these are on another handout, so you don't have to write them down too. So how to get ready? Every day, set up another meeting. Every single day, set up another meeting. The only way these gifts happen is by sitting face to face with people. Now, you want to be constantly, the bottom line, communicating, plain gifts, estate gifts are welcome in everything you send out, every single thing. Because you want to be top of mind when they go visit that attorney. And unless you're asking for it, they're not going to remember you. So you pave the way by making sure all your communications talk about this, and then everything is set up in you. Because that's how you get these, that's how you get major kindness, so you have the people one-on-one, not at the parties. Do your research, log your call reports. Every time you meet with somebody and have those meetings, make sure you're putting the synopsis in your system. There should be a place where you can say what happened. And here's why it's so important. Because when he's done working at alternatives, even he's just won the lottery, and he's gone on that 3-year cruise, and now I take his place, and then I come in and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go visit her. The only thing I can do is say, hi, I'm new at alternatives. Could you tell me your alternative story? Well, that person likely has already told their story before the development officers, and they're tired, and that bothers them. If you log a good call report, then I can pick right up where be left out, and I can say, I know that when last met with him, you know, we're talking about this in your state. Can we pick up that conversation? People will respect that. Practice the conversation, so. We're gonna do that right now, real quick. Oops. I would like you to pick a statement on here, pair up. And ask for a break from the state. Now, that way everybody's done it. Go ahead, ask for your organization, give your best fit. I'll do it. Go, you have 2 minutes. We know that.
There you go.
Yeah.
These are.
Yeah, go to the next one.
I'll say the one.
Yes.
So we did.
Yeah, how do you want to be from that period?
Somebody who's not. Like in my ritual.
How did you guys? Is that where you're I mean, that is like, it's get everyone, that's something that's really important. Everything, like, giving this for way more. There's that or whatever. Yes. 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 I'm trying to get those just meetings to it, right? To me, it's useful when they work together. Yeah. So wherever.
They never had.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Did anybody get a plan out? No. Oh, we didn't. And I'm in a, when did you ask?
No, we solved
No.
major problems.
Yeah.
We actually fondly considered how connected we are to the mission of the organization.
100%.
So I guess the moral of that story is, well, nobody can say yes unless you ask them. So the answer, every time you don't ask, is gonna be no. But the answer, a lot of the times you ask, is gonna be yes. Or it might be a yes, but, or a yes, maybe later, but you're never gonna get a yes unless you ask some of those questions. And just know, people are not as weird about it as you think you might be. They've probably been asked before. And if they haven't, again, we're doing them on paper.
You might get that response, well, I never thought
I
about
never
that.
thought about it. Yes, we get that here, and it's like, really, we didn't, like, this is all we talk about. But no, and people will most likely do those end of life really big gifts. A lot of times, just know, a lot of times they're gonna want to go in the endowment, wherever your endowment is, because they don't want it to be all sent away, want it to be kind of that savings account for the future. So have your options, rehearse your objections and have alternatives. So maybe they don't want to put you in their will, because they just finished drafting it and they don't want to have to do a codicil. But they could put you as a beneficiary, doesn't it? Maybe that would work. That's something they could easily do from their kitchen table. Be clear, if you wanted me to explore their philanthropy, just say so. So, sometimes we as development officers would be like, I love all the words, you know, and I like all the fuzzy feel-good feelings, and I want people to feel good. And sometimes we bury the lead, and we spend so much time dancing around, talking, but not actually calling the question. It's better to be very clear with people and say, I'd like to meet with you to explore your philanthropy instead of, I'd love to get together and have coffee. That's very why you're coming to talk to them, and that confuses people. So just being very clear, people respect that. No doesn't always mean no. They might say no, but that you're learning information from them, and they're learning information from you, and you're just setting the stage for another ask down the road. All right, reach out to your partners. So you have a plan giving council. I have the link coming up. All of the people on the plan giving council board will help you with this. You can call any one of us, we will all help. There are fundraising mentors through AAP. Call one of the season one and say, okay, I have somebody who said they'd be interested in a charitable and name trust. I don't know what to do. Just call one of these people. We will help you. We're not going to take it away from you. We want you to get this. Ask for the name of their advisor. Ask for the name of their wealth advisor, their financial manager, their attorney, and say, okay, if you're interested in that, the first step I'd like to do is I'd like to call your attorney if you have permission and say, this is what we're working on. Can you help us with this? The attorney would be happy to do it. Okay. AFP does have courses on plan giving. There's a module, usually a module in their intro to fundraising class. Sometimes there's a standalone class that will kind of walk you through all the things on this sheet. The ins and outs of different vehicles. The Plan Giving Council, we charge $35 to be a member, $20 to come to one of our lunches if you're not a member. So if you actually sign up for $35 and come to 4 events a year, you make money because we're paying for your lunch. But we have free printable resources right off of the Plan Giving page. It happens to live on the Community Foundation page. It's not because they are part of the Community Foundation, it's just that it's an all volunteer run small organization, and we just don't have staff to be able to host a website ourselves. So the Community Foundation said, sure, we'll give you a free page. So their stuff is there. On that page, we've got these resources, and I know I have these out at other AFP things. We created these sheets for you to use in your nonprofit. They're not branded us, they're just general, and you could use it as is. You can take the text and rebrand it as you don't care. We just want you to be able to talk about it. So this one is for donors, on how to include you in their plans. There's a Plan Giving 101, which goes through a lot of those vehicles on that cheat sheet, even not as much detail. And then this one is just for the fundraisers and your boards, how to talk about plan gifts. I've got a lot of the questions that I asked you are on here, just to give you a start. These are all downloadable for you off of that site. I'd also recommend the National Association of Charitable Gift Planners. That's a membership organization, but they have a lot of resources on their site that are free, including some webinars that are free. They've got gift acceptance policies, they've got resources on how to value gifts, how to do non-cash gifts, and that's where that RIFT project is stands for Release IRA Time Funds Timely. So if you have somebody who's included who is a beneficiary designation from allegedly the Fidelity or Vanguard or something like that, and you need to know, how do I reach out to them? They have a whole database. And they have people who will help you, and I use them to help me through this little kerfuffle we had. So I would recommend, going to that site because they've got great resources. Special thanks to my friend Julia Muck. She also is a consultant called Nonprofit Brains and Ron. She's out of Grundy County, but, she travels around and does consulting, and she's got things on her website. I do not have a website. I don't have that much time in my life. But you're also welcome to, ask me questions. I also gave you a page from, Russell Billings called Cash is Not King and Fundraising. I wanted you to have this because it's making the case to your board and your CEO on why you need to spend time on this. You need to know what you're leaving behind if you're not asking for non-cash assets. Things that aren't in the checking account, that's where the money is. So making sure that you have room in your fundraising schedule and that you include it in your plan is so important. Making that case to that board and CEO, Russell James, some of the information I hear might be of use to you. Comments, conversation. Wasn't helpful. How did it feel to do the app? You've never done that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
See, now you've done it. So now you feel like I've never done that before, because you just did.
We introduce ourselves, I don't know, we're gonna enjoy this here.
Sure, let's go around. You know,
Hi, Randy.
Oh, sorry, I'm Randy. I am with Trinity Health Foundation. I'm also on the AFP board.
Louis Moreno, CEO of Arrowhead Ranch.
welcome.
Next term, I'm at the Federal Center in your Wyman House.
Sarah Morby, the year of seeing the one on the.
You have different samples.
Rebecca Cantu and Center for Humanity in Quad Cities. Karen Dahlstrom from the Moline Public Schools Foundation.
Bill Worrell with alternatives for the older adult, and also the people.
Thanks for asking that.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm Alexis and I'm AFP's administrator.
Yeah.
That's great, Alexis.
Yeah. So it wasn't that scary to ask. Practice asking on each other, because we all, I mean, I practice. When I'm gonna do a big ask, I practice with somebody. I might say it out to my spouse at home, but I'll also do it to my colleagues here and say, okay, I'm just gonna practice this. I wanna get my language down. How does this sound? And then once you're talking with people, they're just people. They're just like you. And like I said, you're doing them a favor. Because we all want to be remembered. We all want to, I mean, usually the people you're working with that you would ask, they have a history of generosity. And so you're giving them another way to do that in a way that's really significant, it's magnificent, that's gonna make them, you know, your charitable gifts are gonna last so much longer than what you did. Your charitable gifts are that. So, it's helpful to them. And they might say, no, I don't think so. But you've now planted a seed, right? That seed might germinate 10, 15, 20 years. That's the thing about the timeline. These things take time. Some of them happen right away. Most of them happen over time. I worked on ones that had been worked on for 20 years before the person said yes. That's how long it takes. So you have to play the long game, but really, it's not an expensive long game. That same $1 cost, right? Usually it's sitting with people, which is why the very first thing is every day accepting. Every day reach out to the person and say, can we have a meeting? Otherwise, you get caught in a busy work. And you go do it. This happens to me too, where it's like, oh my gosh, it's Thursday already, and I haven't talked to that donor. Because I'm doing my work. Well, I have to make room for everyone every day.
Any other question? Will we get a copy of the PowerPoint?
Yeah, I'll post it on our website. Thank you.
And thank you very much. This has been very informative. Good way to start off the year.
Before they do themselves,
Yeah,
we don't know that.
thank you very much.
You're welcome. And it's senior maybe listening.
I was actually reading this before I came here. From Ballard, the planning of kindly Mary gave it to me to read through.
Tries to transcribe it.
Well.